Hello, welcome to the Imply Druid Summit 2022. Today, I'm going to be talking about leveraging autonomous, intelligence-driven decisions at digital enterprises, where data continues to grow exponentially. I am Gurudev, and I have 25 years of experience driving decisions from data at companies like eBay, PayPal, Target, before starting Out of the Blue. Presenting with me today is Mahesh. He is responsible for data and ML infra at Poshmark. In this session today, we'll cover how e-commerce and D2C brands are monitoring the metrics and generating insights, the challenges they face. Then we'll dive into how Poshmark, a modern social commerce company, monitors metrics and the stages of evolution. Then we'll wrap it up by covering how they're using Out of the Blue to monitor metrics that matter and how you can get this. Out of the Blue is a modern analytics platform to manage and monitor metrics at scale. And Poshmark is a leading fashion social marketplace. Leveraging data to drive decisions is hard. Not only do you need to find the insight from the data, but you need to tie it to the right causes to drive the right actions. It's like manually having to find a needle in a haystack. And so says Gartner. And what they're saying is, given the exponential rise in data, by 2025, data stories will be the most widespread way of consuming analytics. And tying that back to what foresters are saying, today, only 20% of folks in the organization have access to BI tools that help them find insights on the data. The remainder of the 80% in the organization is still dependent on the 20% to get insights to the data. So we're really creating a choke point at this point in time in terms of figuring out A, what's going on, and B, what do we do about it? So typically, if you look at the challenges that most business users face, the surface areas for metrics is constantly changing. You're constantly adding metrics. You're constantly changing what you're monitoring, what aspects you're monitoring. In addition to this, data is fast changing, and the dashboards that house these metrics are only evolving. So figuring out what is changing where is a large challenge. In addition to that, there's lack of access to consistent definitions in the enterprise. In addition to that, there are constantly changing definitions. So when you're getting an insight, first you have to go and figure out what's the definition, is this right, does this make sense, can I trust it, so on and so forth. And in addition, and the third aspect we're saying is insights are manually initiated and curated, which means that you need to ask the question first. Only if you ask the question first in your head are you going to look at that particular dashboard, find that particular metric, figure out what's changing. So it's very manually initiated when we call that as the pull paradigm. And the fourth is, once you detect all these things, you're typically prioritizing the things that you detect rather than the things that are most important. And manual root cause analysis typically takes 20 to 30% of engineering teams. It's iterative, it's slow. And to do all of this, what do we have today? Today's tools and methods of choice are more dashboards, Excel and PowerPoint, lots of tribal knowledge that's captured in your analysts and product owners' minds. There's lots of manual analyses, lots of SQL scripts that are spaghetti all over the enterprise. So just to summarize, step one, detection is manual. Figuring out what's working and what's not working is manual. You're typically looking for the known knowns, but issues typically happen outside your known knowns. And taking a simple dashboard that has 10 metrics 10 dimensions, and 5 comps translates to roughly a million time series. What you end up looking at is maybe a few 10, 15, 20 data points on a daily basis. Once you've detected what's really going on, then finding root causes is a manual effort. 20 to 30% of engineering, product, analytics bandwidth is typically going into answering what happened last week, what happened last month, why did this happen, where did this happen. And that happens in large enterprises as well as small enterprises. And then once you figure all of this, then you're actually driving action, which is manual as well. And successful actions really depend on identifying the actual cause. And all of this takes a very long time, depending on the tools that you use. With this, I'll turn it over to Mahesh, who will talk about the journey that they've had at Poshmark.
Thank you, Gurudev, for the background. Hi, I'm Mahesh. I'm going to talk about Poshmark, a little bit about Poshmark and data architecture at Poshmark, and how we are utilizing out of the blue within our data system to monitor our releases. That's the use case we're going to focus today. So, how many of you know about Poshmark? I see a few hands there. Thank you. So, Poshmark is a platform, a social e-commerce platform. Our users they are called as Poshers. They use our platform to list products, share the products they have listed, or share products of other Poshers, and comment on it. And they also browse, feed, buy, and sell from each other. And this year we also introduced live selling. To learn more about live selling, you should go to our platform or you should go to our website or download the app to discover the fun of live selling. It is very intuitive and a very, very quick way of selling. So I would definitely encourage all of you to do that. So can you believe that 1 in 10 adults in US have used Poshmark or continue to use Poshmark today? So this is a little bit of graphical representation of how our users actually interact with the product. So how are we capturing all of these user interactions, and how are we measuring these interactions in terms of the engagement, in terms of revenue generated, or in terms of like long-term impact of these interactions on the platform itself? So Poshmark has been around for a long time. We started in 2011, and at that time, everything we measured about the users was on our transactional database. As we are adding more users, we are getting more engagement. We built our own homegrown real-time reporting solution. It was called Yaga, and the technology was built on Ruby, MongoDB, and D3 JavaScript base. And it uses custom event logs. What's a custom event log? Anytime you want to measure a certain interaction or certain transaction on the platform, that is written as custom event log. There is no standardization to it. And, whoever is developing and thought about what are all the data elements they need for that interaction, they record it as a custom event log. All these custom event logs are processed on a specific time interval and saved pre-computed data in MongoDB database. And it worked very well for us for 6 years as we were, still acquiring more and more users. And as we were in early stages of launching the platform. But as our platform was scaling and this database, this reporting solution couldn't keep up. It couldn't keep up, and we have to think about ways to enhance it or rewrite it. We chose an option of rewriting it. Some of the limitations we ran into is like whenever a data quality mismatch happened, there is no way for us to troubleshoot between Yaga and our transactional database. Because the data is stored at the pre-computed level, not at the individual transaction level. It's also non-sharded database. As the volumes go up, and we were having very difficulty in managing and maintaining the database. And all of in the world of data, sometimes you do miss the events, like a particular component of system down, or receiving side is down, or producer side is down. Anything could happen, or something along the pipeline went down. Anything would happen. In that case, when we missed the events in Yaga, we couldn't really replicate it. We had to write a custom scripts every time we did, and we had to. It took us sometimes weeks to sometimes days to replay the events and make sure the data is up to date. So those were all the challenges we were running into. So what we decided was to rewrite the system using different building blocks. Instead of one big component, we actually decided to break the system into different building blocks and recreate Yaga in a more modernized way. So one of the building blocks was our custom event logs. The custom event logs were very specific to a particular event. So what we decided to do is create a very simplified version of the custom event grammar, which is very much similar to activity stream spec. And Snowplow also uses a version of it, but we developed our own way of doing it. We looked at Google Analytics. We looked at few other players in the market, and we decided we needed have our own way of data collection, and we should be able to extend the data collection on our own, able to extend as our needs come up. So we created our own data collection mechanism. So as I said, it is based on activity streams. The basic function of this clickstream grammar is an actor, a verb, and a direct object. So that's how we divided this: an actor, verb, and a direct object. So an example of it: user view a page, and in the user, that's an event. In this case, actor is user. He or she viewed a page. View is the verb, and page is the direct object. Another example is user book an order. User is the actor in this case. Book is the verb. As you guess, that object is the order. We can extend this to any number of events. For example, system send an email to user, or system marked comment as spam, things like that. So this grammar was, we put a lot of thought into defining this grammar and created a catalog of these events, and our client systems have developed, implemented this grammar along with our server microservices as well implemented this grammar. So it was very intuitive. We made sure the grammar was very intuitive and very close to, looks very much close to which component is generating that event. And it also had all the data that is needed for that particular event, but also we are able to cross-join the data with other events as well. So let's look at an example of how this grammar data stored using this grammar can be queried. Here are the sample queries. The first example query you're looking at is query to pull users receiving greater email. In this case, this SQL query shows how we are pulling all the users that have received this greater email. So if you look at it, there is an event date, an actor ID, and the communication channel, which talks about its email or push notifications, etc. And from an external table, raw event that says that this data is coming from a data lake. And a verb is send. That's our partition, because we use pretty smartly using the verbs. We use the verbs as our partition, verb, and date. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And we use now event date. These are the event dates we want to pull the data from, and different types of filters to find out this greater email. And you can see a similar query to find an active users. The active users are, in this case, we are pulling from similar raw events, which is an external data lake table, and an event and active users between these 2 dates. So these are the power of simplified grammar, and we are able to use this to simplified and standardized grammar, and we are able to use this to utilize it to, or we benefited using this grammar. We were able to benefit few things. Data lake storage is consistent with our data capture. So whatever is coming from our clients are microservices that comes in JSON format, and when we store it in a different Parquet format, but still all the data essence of it is very much similar to how it is generated. We could use somewhat same query for different query engines like Spark, Druid, and Spectrum. And it does require minor changes, but the queries looks very similar. Like, for example, you take a filter clause, like a where clause, and you can apply those filters in similar way in different systems. And it also allowed us to do good data quality checks across different storage formats and query engines automatically. And it's also helped us train our analysts, product managers, data engineers, and backend engineers easily. And it's also helped us push democratization of data usage to different groups. And what did we do with this newly standardized grammar? We pushed the newly standardized grammar into different subcomponents of our architecture. So you see, you can see in this is our data architecture, simplified version of our data architecture. The data events are generated not only from our client applications, which is both Android, iOS, and web, and also the events are generated from our app servers as well. These events go into a Kinesis stream, and from the Kinesis stream, there are different consumers consume these events. So, for example, a Druid consumer consumes that, and that is available through standardized reporting through Grafana. And at the same time, these events are consumed by a Spark streaming service and pushed to our data lake and queried through Yama notebooks or Databricks notebooks using Spark as a backend. And our analysts able to use that data and run ad hoc analytics or develop modeling algorithms, etc. And the same data is used by Spark Batch ETL orchestrated by Airflow. And our Airflow also runs a transaction ETL job. That's what's shown in the bottom, and the data gets pushed into Redshift, either transactional data or data derived from our data lake. Both gets pushed into Redshift and visualized through Looker. So this is our architecture. So and our standard grammar flows through different places, and it looks very much similar in different components. So with this, we were able to plug out of the blue to our Druid and out of the blue able to pull the data from Druid and develop the release monitoring use case, which they will talk a little bit more about it in between. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Poshmark data infrastructure, Poshmark Druid infrastructure. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Poshmark Druid infrastructure. So when we took on the journey of Druid, we followed the guidelines, Druid guidelines, to create a highly available system. And a Druid cluster, our Druid cluster consists of has Tranquility, which has M4X large 10 nodes that allow us to scale for processing. And our historical, what we found is our T versions worked better for us. We needed burst capacity, and that's why we stayed with it. And it's pretty expensive architecture, if you can see it. And we have 64 nodes, and which store 90 days of current year's data and 90 days of last year's data for quickly doing dips over year, week over week, etc. Because our business is seasonal, so we need that capability. And cold to year, we only have 20 nodes, node stores. And Zookeeper, middleman, the broker, we develop multiple nodes to provide HA. And on the UI side, we have M4X large Grafana and HA. We have redundancy there as well. So the challenges we faced when we were implementing Druid at Poshmark, one was consumer wasn't available, so we had to write out our own, and there's a lot of experiments to get the system stable as well. So how do we monitor Druid at Poshmark? We use Datalog to monitor all our infrastructure. And we have for data, monitoring the data itself, and then data quality. We have several dashboards that compare data between different query engines, storage formats, and also transaction versus clickstream. We built those. We not only monitor manually, we also have automation systems capturing that along with anomaly detection. We also do reconciliation of our pipelines. So clickstream pipeline, it gets reconciled every 24 hours to make sure we have no data gaps or, we have no duplicates, that sort of stuff. Okay. Now, but we are monitoring systems, but we're not actually monitoring what's happening to our users. And every time we release a new feature, how do we monitor that? That's where we partner with Out of the Blue to monitor the impact on users, either both positive and negative, with our constant weekly releases. This and Gurudev will talk more about how that part of the system works. Thank you.
Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks for diving into your stages of evolution and talking about what we do. To summarize, we help Poshmark monitor the customer engagement and interaction metrics to derive customer intelligence at scale, driven through internal actions like releases, etc. Now we'll talk about how they're using Out of the Blue to drive intelligence and monitor metrics that matter. Out of the Blue's autonomous AI-driven analytics platform makes business health monitoring and revenue generation more predictable through actionable, contextual, and timely insights. We leverage AI to constantly monitor and correlate business performance and identify revenue-critical alerts and issues, and provide real-time forecasts and alerts to be able to take proactive rather than reactive actions. We provide a high-definition view to your challenges and opportunities These automated alerts are prioritized for action and tied to key internal actions like releases, promos, etc. So if going back to the graphic that we had earlier, what do we do with detection? As we said, we automate detection at scale. How we do it is we create a prioritized weekly digest, force ranked by impact, so that you can focus on the most important issues. In addition to that, we help you configure and deliver targeted alerts in near real time. And by doing this, we are able to at least detect a 5x more volume of issues and opportunities that typically are in your blind spot today. And since we're doing this automated at scale across all your metrics, dimensions, and historical time frames, we reduce time to detect 10x. For the issues that we've identified, now we automate root cause detection through our scalable root cause analysis library. And what this delivers is automated hotspot analysis on what's happening where, key drivers of pattern changes, possible root causes, and drivers. What this does is it helps reduce the analysis time 10x and reduces your fire drills 4x in your organization, helping you drive actions through resolving issues in time and reducing a mean time to detect by 3x. Depending on the maturity of your organization, we can deliver up to a 3x improvement in the quality of analyst productivity and focus by focusing on the things that matter the most, so that you're focusing and zooming into things that really matter and not looking at things that don't matter, because we are already telling you what matters and what doesn't matter. Successful actions are really a function of delivering the right issue at the right time and identifying the actual cause that helps you drive meaningful action. How do we do it? So going back to your platform, we tell you what's happening through targeted Twitter-like stories so that you can actually drive action, and simplify this in plain, simple English. So just to kind of cover, under the hood, how does it work? We are powered by Druid. So we have connectors that pull data from different applications, databases, APIs, query engines, so on and so forth. We already have connectors built for Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics. We have databases like Druid that we can pull data from. Poshmark uses Druid, Redshift, Snowflake, and APIs like Salesforce and HubSpot. And the idea is we do data in place analytics, where we're able to pull data, signatures, and tell and understand what's really changing. This allows us to run our algorithms at scale and generate insights that are put on a feed, on a digest, as well as send targeted notifications on email. Our customers see immediate benefits from improved opportunity capture from the optimization efforts, improved identification and time to detection, time to action, and improved productivity from automation at scale from the otherwise manual, non-scalable processes. Unquantified benefits include centralization of knowledge, history, and understanding what's really going on with your metric landscape through metric heat maps, associated with key drivers and actions that you've taken in your enterprise. This allows you to build context, build knowledge that typically is in analysts and product owners' minds and heads today. If you are a digital business or e-commerce leader launching or optimizing an online experience, we want to talk to you. With large year-over-year growth over the last 3 years, influx of new customer behaviors and patterns, growth of independent brands, your challenges aren't decreasing on the business side. On the other side, we have a growing demand on data, insights, data-driven decisions, all challenged by lack of qualified analysts, data scientists, and legacy tooling, while data scales exponentially. We are looking to drive and further our vision of driving growth through data. And our AI-based analytics can very quickly show you where the needle is buried in the haystack to take corrective actions on time. Looking forward to hearing from you, and have a great day.